Okay, we're all set to go, Bridget.
All right. Again, thank you for being on the line with us this afternoon. So this is SHIP 2014. This is how the session's going to go. The next slide, Leslie, please. So generally, we're going to go over the general information for SHIP. We're going to look at the categories. If you haven't had a chance to look through the guidance yet, we're going to go over the instructions. We'll spend some time talking about the changes for 2014, getting some feedback. And then I wanted to have Patsy Whaley from the Georgia SHIP program talk a little bit about the consortia and the networks that they utilize and how they put them together. We've had a number of questions concerning networks and how states are putting them together and how hospitals are working together within them. So I just wanted her to share a little bit about their program. So hopefully we will get all of that in, as well as answer any questions that you have in this next hour. So let's go ahead and get started. So next slide,
Bridget,
please.
there was a message in the chat box that if you could try to speak just a little bit louder.
Sure, I can do that. Apologies again, coming to you remotely. Okay. So in general, the progress report is due March 14th, and that's in EHB. And so because we had a year, last year was a competitive year, this year is just a project, is your second year of your project period. And so we are looking forward to seeing the progress that you've made in this past year on your SHIP, with your SHIP grant. So budget approximately $9,000 for each SHIP hospital. And as most of you know, the budget period will begin September 1st, 2014. Next slide. The categories remain the same, and we've had these same categories with value-based purchasing, which is to do improvement of hospital data collection and making sure that hospitals are able to input data into Hospital Compare. The Accountable Care Organization / Shared Savings menu item. So that's investments that would help improve quality outcomes, and as well as data reporting and collection for hospitals. The next slide will show you the payment bundling, prospective payment. That is also a category that we've had for the last couple of years. And we are maintaining that one. Our new category for this year is care transitions, and I've gotten a number of questions about that, but just to explain a little bit about how we came to add care transitions for this year. When I took over the SHIP program, I wanted to find out what activities were that we weren't necessarily addressing with SHIP, and how we could be more proactive and more supportive of what hospitals needed investments for within the parameters of the SHIP guidance. And so through the survey, some themes arose, and one of them was looking at a number of investments, including telemedicine equipment and training, and mobile health and paramedicine equipment and training for staff. And these things all sort of got pulled together in a category that we titled care transitions. And really it's to look at that reduction of hospital readmissions. And so that's a little bit of background on how care transitions came to be. So we're hoping that there are a number of hospitals that will be able to take advantage, and that they'll find this valuable in terms of utilizing their SHIP dollars. So the next slide, thanks. Just a little bit more general background on the SHIP progress report, 25-page limit, which doesn't include the EHB web-based forms, which are your standard forms for reporting. And if you need additional details about the progress report, you can find them at the link highlighted here in the slide, which is which has a lot of detail and a lot more information about the necessary forms for reporting. Next slide. And these are the sections that we'll be looking for in our in the reports that you'll be submitting. So we'll look for the work plan, which will be an attachment, the evaluation also that you fill out for your past year. There'll be an attachment, the budget information, narrative format, and the format you'll find on between pages 27 and 31 in your progress report user guide. The state spreadsheet of SHIP applicants, and this is a spreadsheet that we've used pretty much every year, where you have a list of your SHIP hospitals, those who are returning, those who are non-returning, and a breakdown of how much in what categories they'll be spending the money in. And then any other documents, position descriptions for any new staff that have come on since the last approved application. And then any other documents that you might want to include as well. So those would be attachments. Just in summary, the performance narrative should have these sections. So it should have your goals and objectives, your progress to date. So just summarize your activities. Anything that might have changed significantly with regard to the grant. Now, as I've said, significant changes are major modifications, such as hospitals underperforming or utilizing them for other activities, establishment of a new network, or any major shifts in your approach to goals, to accomplishing your goals. Significant changes are not necessarily changes in scope, although they may be. But changes in scope are those things that have to have prior approval through EHB, and so they would not be included at all as part of your progress report. And finally, any other information with regard to your SHIP grant, anything that might be unique that has happened that you want to just talk about in your performance narrative. So those are some of the expectations for how your performance narrative should be outlined. Again, the work plan, your budget. To reiterate, your budget shouldn't exceed $9,000 per hospital, including your indirect costs. And just as a reminder, non-applicable budget categories for SHIP include travel, supplies, construction, and other. Indirect costs are allowed, and your budget justification must differentiate between your federal funds and any non-federal funds, matching non-federal funds that you use. And this year, HRSA may not pay, HRSA funds are not used to pay salaries of any individual at a rate greater than $181,500 for salary. And then just finally a reminder that the SHIP funds are still to be spent in a prioritized manner. And that's for critical access hospitals, which is MB-QIP, HCAPS, or ICD-10 in no particular order. And then if they've completed or they've implemented all of those, any other activity on the SHIP purchasing menu, including going back and doing MB-QIP, HCAPS, or ICD-10. So just a reminder of those things. Next slide. So what's new for 2014? We have some changes in the SHIP purchasing menu. As I had mentioned earlier, we have the new care transitions category. And also a note for everyone that for this category, we're looking at getting some measures. If you're going to use care transitions, we're looking at some measures to see if there is a decrease in hospital readmissions over last year. So we are asking for that. We'll do our, we'll make sure we try to capture that information so that we know that it's a measure it's a measure that we'll be looking at as well, and we're hoping that any investment has an impact. I see a question. I'll stop really quickly. I see a question from Julie Pettit about the sample budget narrative. I'll make sure to get you that. And we'll find it for you, okay? Okay. The other thing that's new, something else that's new, is the payment budget, payment bundling and PPS investment and corresponding measure we've added charge master review and S10 cost reports. S10 cost reporting. So there's a little bit of history behind that. We're given to understand that there was some need for additional support on S10 cost reporting and making sure that hospitals were able to understand what that was, that there were some troubles with them understanding what it was, and that they would need some training, staff would need maybe some training and technical support to make sure that they were reporting it correctly. And so we've added that to the list of eligible investments that hospitals can make. New also is the charge master review and update for this year. And, if it's necessary, we know that it should be done periodically. Some hospitals will have already started doing that, but it was something that in our survey work came out as an area where additional support from the SHIP grant would be useful. So we'll see how that goes this year and see what type of response we get for that. Again, under the accountable care ACO shared savings was an addition of, it says specifically Baldrige, but any type of systems performance training is acceptable, and that doesn't have to necessarily be Baldrige, so I'll clarify that right here. But we've added that to help hospitals with their performance and performance measures and implementing performance systems within their hospital. And next we have we moved quality health indicator or any quality improvement system. We moved that from payment bundling PPS to accountable care shared savings category, just to make it a little more consistent with the category. We felt it was more consistent to be, it made sense to be under that particular category. So descriptions for each category have been revised as well. So to include a broad purpose statement, so you'll find that. Reporting for the prior budget year, your FFR is due on January 30th in 2015. And again, just like we're doing now, they must be submitted through EHB. If you anticipate a UOB, an unobligated balance, you must submit that request to carry over funds either with the FFR or through EHB and a prior approval request within 30 days after submission of your FFR. Your request should be for the completion of activities you've already begun and full explanation of why they weren't completed, and please include a revised budget justification when you do make that submission. And again, just a reminder that changes in scope, rebudgeting, et cetera, must be approved through prior approval module in EHB, and not included as part of your carryover request. The appendices that we're looking for the SHIP program are the spreadsheet, which I mentioned earlier, which would include any new, returning, and non-returning hospitals from FY13, and make sure that you include your totals for every category. And within the categories on the spreadsheet, as usual, we're asking that you alphabetize and provide a full hospital address, including the county, and the name of the CEO and the hospital SHIP coordinator. And so for each of your new and returning hospitals, also provide whether they are CA or not, the bed count, and then the amount requested by your menu category, and then the type of funding that you're looking for, whether it's direct, full, or partial network. And most stores don't have this, but any funds released to the store. And then the amount of funds in dollar amount, and then the percent expended for each category. So that's what we need. And then again, if there are any new positions or any new staff, their vitae and the position and the description of what they'll be doing, a job description, and any relevant documents that you may have. There may not be any, so that would not be necessarily, that wouldn't be relevant for you. I want to take a second to respond to Rosalia's question. Yes, I think, Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong, all the states should have received a spreadsheet template with care transitions on it, yes?
Yeah, we sent that out last month. You can also download it. I just posted a download files box on the top left-hand corner where you can download all the files from today's webinar, including the state spreadsheet and the individual hospital applications. And then we are going to be posting them on our website, too, so that you can download them from there as well.
Okay. So are there any questions, any other questions? Okay. Submit copies of the hospital application. No, we haven't asked that you all submit copies, signed copies for a while now. So no, you don't need to submit any signed copies, but you should keep them on file for yourself. That's one of our frequently asked questions. So no, you don't need to submit signed copies to ORHP any longer.
And if anybody has questions, you can also press *2 to unmute to ask over the phone.
And I believe that a frequently asked question sheet was sent out earlier along with the call information.
Yeah, the frequently asked questions is available in the download files box as well, and I can pull it up on the screen also.
Hi, Angie. I see your question regarding the implementing or implemented. Have you begun, has someone begun HCAPS? Have they started working on it? That's the definition for me as far as implementing something. Have you begun working on HCAPS or ICD-10, including training for staff or purchase of software? That indicates that you have begun to implement the system within your hospital. I don't know if that answers your question or not. Okay. No new staff. Yes, you can, Debbie, you can certainly leave that off. If there is no new staff anticipated, you can just note that, no new staff, and that's fine.
Okay.
This is Kenny in South Dakota, and I have a question. Are we, regarding our FY 2013, will we anticipate doing additional reporting in EHBs on the outcomes, at the end of the project period?
For 2014?
No, it's for 2013. So, like the current grant that we're in, I know we'll be doing some reporting now in this application from 2013. Will we have to do additional reporting then at the end of that project period to any EHBs? It seemed like last year that's the impression that I got.
Last year, Bridget, David was hoping to have PIMS measures available in EHB so that they could report on those selected hospital measures from the SHIP purchasing menu. And I don't know.
I'm going to have. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was one of the goals for last year. So what I can do is see if I can get the answer to that question for you, Kenny. I don't know the answer off the top about whether there'll be a section in EHB.
I guess I should have been clarified that in PIMS, because I've told our hospitals that in addition to the reporting that they're doing on this application, that I anticipated doing that, and then I'd probably have to either collect additional information through like SurveyMonkey, or send out an Excel reporting form or something like that, and just so I have the information to forward on to PIMS. That's about the only way.
Well, we don't have to. Yeah, there's no PIMS for SHIP.
Okay, and they talked about doing that, but if you're going to do that, if you can let us know as soon as possible so we can pass that information.
Yeah, you'll get plenty of notice, I promise.
Okay.
if we're going to do PIMS for SHIP.
Okay.
Okay. Julie, I see you have a question regarding a name change. Do you know what the name's going to be? Or is anything else changing? Because it's something you can just note in the spreadsheet.
Oh, here we are. In the spreadsheet that I'm going to send in, just note it there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right. So probably on the spreadsheet, put their old name and then their new name?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
Bridget, this is Stephanie from Idaho. I had a quick question.
Sure, Stephanie.
So just to be clear, with the tiered priorities, if they are already participating in MBQuip and are already entering data that's being uploaded for HCAPS, with regard to ICD-10, because of the deadline in October, if they don't actually have to show that they're fully prepared to implement ICD-10. They just have to be undergoing activities to prepare for that so that they could move beyond that in the SHIP purchasing menu if they wanted to?
Correct.
Okay. And then just to also reiterate, if they did choose something else on the SHIP purchasing menu, they could actually go back and use funds for MBQuip or HCAPS or ICD-10. It wouldn't matter?
Correct. Or even they could move on to care transitions if they wanted to.
Okay, so it's basically open menu. They can do whatever they want.
Once they've demonstrated that they have, they've gone through the tiers, MBQuip, HCAPS, and ICD-10, they certainly can go to the menu, any place else on the menu.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
No problem. I see a question popped up from Angie about systems performance training. Again, there are a number of, and Leslie, you all work with a number of systems performance training. So if you have some names or resources that Angie can look up in terms of systems performance.
Yeah, I can get a list for Angie.
That would be great. And anybody else not familiar with systems performance, when we talk about systems performance, maybe that can go on the frequently asked questions sheet. We can update it to include some resources for you. Okay, but there are a number of familiar names such as Baldrige or Studer or Pillar or Lean training that you hear referenced often. So those are names that are well known in terms of systems performance. Okay. I see someone else typing, so we'll wait for that question. But I wanted to give Patsy Whaley a chance to talk a little bit about consortia and networks and how they're put together in Georgia and how they operate, how effective they are for implementing SHIP activities as well. So
if Patsy's on the line, it's star 2 to unmute.
Mm-hmm. Patsy, you want to go ahead and start?
I will. Good
We'll pick up
afternoon,
any other
everybody.
questions.
Hope everybody's doing well. Just a couple of things. We've done consortiums or networks in Georgia for a very long time, primarily around quality improvement. I guess that is probably our oldest consortium. We have been doing it for years. The way we start this is once we know what the funding categories are going to be, I publish this information to the consortium administrators that we've had in the past to see if there's something around one of those categories that they would like to develop a consortium or a network around. Every year we have from 4 or a high of 4 networks to maybe a low of 2 networks each SHIP grant year. Primarily it's the hospital associations in the state who do develop a consortium or a network around one of the core categories. We have had Drafford & Tucker, who is an accounting firm that works with a lot of critical access and small rural hospitals in the southeast, to develop a consortium or network periodically. This year we have 4 going forward in 2014-15 for that grant cycle. We will have 4. One will be around the S10 Cost Report project, value-based purchasing, and we will have a couple of those around ICD-10 continuation. The way this, once an organization has decided that they will do a consortium or a network, and I'll explain, consortium network is just a means for me to keep account of which group is doing a consortium, which to me, we define that as the consortium administrator or manager manages all of the administrative requirements of the grant, including any reporting and the invoicing. Network will be a group of hospitals that's going to subscribe to a program, say an ICD-10 program, but they are defined then as direct grantees, and all of those grantees are, of course, responsible for all the administrative requirements of the grant. Once I have the programs from each one of those organizations, I review those, either approve or if I have additional questions for someone, I'll go back to that consortium administrator or manager and have those questions answered. Once I have approved that, then I refer all of the programs up to Bridget for her review and approval. One of the things with our consortiums where we have a administrator for that program is really helpful to all the hospitals as well as to me, because they are responsible for all the reporting and invoicing. So I have one invoice for that particular consortium rather than 15, and I have one report for that consortium rather than 15. So to be able to, and we do encourage the people who want to do a program and have it available for our SHIP grantees to please organize it where there will be one program administrator who takes care of all the requirements of the grant. But we do have those who do a program where our hospitals can subscribe to a particular program, but then they are, of course, as I said, direct grantees, and they are required to do all the reporting and invoicing for the grant. Very helpful. A lot of return on investment for those hospitals that do join a consortium. A lot easier on them. They are, of course, what they have to do is participate in the program, get the training and education, and let someone else worry about doing all the requirements for the grant. Those hospitals that choose to subscribe to a program, they don't have those benefits. Any questions about how we manage these programs, how we advertise these programs? So anybody have any questions about that?
This is Stephanie from Idaho. I have a question as far as the way in which you kind of market the network concept. I know in Idaho we've always been challenged with hospitals kind of always choosing different things on the what is now the purchasing menu, and so it was very difficult to get people to kind of agree to a project. And last year, for the first time, because it was so limited with the tiers, I think it was easier to market the idea of doing networks. But this year, with it kind of opening back up again, I'm struggling trying to make sure that people are able to kind of coordinate and unify over the same initiative. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions, or are these already sort of people that have been working together on projects already, and SHIP is just kind of helping that forward?
Most of them have been working together for a while. We find that what I do is when I send out the application for the SHIP program, at that time I publish each one of the programs that we have available for them to consider. Thankfully, most of the hospitals this year have already satisfied most of the priority requirements for the grant, so they're able to look at the programs available, and if it's something that they feel suits their need, if they feel like they're going to need ongoing ICD-10 training or quality improvement, core measure programs, then they will choose that particular program to subscribe to or to join that particular consortium. We don't advertise any of the programs until the application process begins to any of the hospitals, giving every one of the consortiums or networks the same playing field, if you will. So when it goes out, people can look at it, see which best meets their needs for their particular hospital, and then they subscribe or join that particular consortium.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Bridget, I'll toss it back to you.
Thanks, Patsy. And we
Was
have a
there
couple
any
more
other
questions
were there
in the
any other
chat box.
questions?
I know there was one question in the chat box. Can you confirm that a hospital may continue with their current activity if they've met all the priority activities?
Yes. There's a network question also. Yes, they can continue with the same activity. They can look at different investments, but they could continue in the same activities, yes. There's a question about networks. Can the SOAR implement a network activity if all the majority of the hospitals select the individual hospital application to not pool the funds for a network activity? Patsy, that's experience you've had some SOARs, some hospitals
We have
don't elect.
some of the programs or our consortiums where there is a consortium administrator. The hospitals devote their funding to that particular consortium, and that administrator takes care of all the administrative requirements of the grant. We do have a couple of programs where we refer to it as a subscription. You can subscribe to that particular program. But those, the program sponsor does not take care of any of the requirements of the grant. It is left up to the individual hospitals to do that. We might have 5 hospitals that will subscribe to that particular program. They get benefit of the training and education, but they take care of all of the program requirements.
Is that helpful, Rosilia? If the hospital is not necessarily pooling its funds in, with a group of additional hospitals, but they do participate in certain activities? I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Yeah, I had a similar question from another state previously, and they had asked, so they haven't had time to form a network, and they don't think they will before the application is due. But if the hospitals decide later to collaborate together over similar activities, would that be all right? Even though they said they were going to be doing individual activities?
Yeah, that very much sounded like what Patsy just described, the subscription.
Mm-hmm.
But all those subscriptions are, we know that before, the applications, when the applications are completed. We haven't had any to form a consortium after the application phase.
Okay.
So that's something you recommend that hospitals work out, or the SOAR work out with the hospitals well in advance of applying for the SHIP grant?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I just want to clarify something. Patsy mentioned that she sends drafts of the consortia, the proposed consortia, to me. Well, she does that because I happen to be the regional liaison for Georgia, the program officer for Georgia. Not because as a SHIP coordinator, I need to see the proposed consortia. So if anyone has questions, I would continue to urge you to talk to your project officers for your region, and they're up on the screen. Their contact information, their names, their numbers, and their email addresses, as well as your grants management specialist. If you have some questions about your funding or your expenditures or any the forms, the standard forms, your FFR. I would urge you to contact Inga Cooper, and her information is at the bottom of the screen, as well as on your notice of grant award. So I would urge you all to take advantage of them as well, and make sure that they understand what your questions are. But I'm also happy to help you and happy to answer any questions that you may have now, today, or any other time.
Bridget?
Yes.
Hey, this is Debbie in Alabama.
Hey.
We've got on page 2 of the instructions, it says 5 pages for each of those items, like the progress summary. Mm-hmm. I'm having a hard time getting everything addressed that's requested on pages 3 and 4 in 5 pages. If you add those, what you see on page 3 is 5 pages for progress, 5 for work, 5 for evaluation, 5 for budget. That's only 20, and you said there's 25. So
you want to break the rules and go over a little bit?
No, wait a minute. That says including attachments, so that would give us 5 pages for the state spreadsheet, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Sorry, never mind.
Hi, this is Kathleen from McElligott from Massachusetts, and I still had a question for Georgia, because I think what they're doing is brilliant. I love this idea of a consortium and a network, but I still had the basic question of, if I could ask, are there still hospitals that don't pick either one of those models that say, gee, I'm Shady Memorial Hospital, and I see something else on your menu list, and I want to do ChargeMaster, and that's not part of what anyone's offering through the other models. Can they still do their own, or everybody is really fitting into a network or a consortium?
We always have a few that will not join the network or the consortium, that there is something out there that suits their needs better than what any of the consortiums or networks are providing. So yes, they can devote their funding to that particular individual project.
So you've got the best of all worlds. I like your model. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Bridget, it's Patsy. If anybody would like to call me to talk about the consortium/networks further, I'll be happy to do it. My number is 229-401-3092. Might be able to send out some examples if there's some question about how we present those consortiums, the work that's going to be done. I'll be glad to provide that too.
Oh, that would be really helpful. Yeah. Particularly that second piece around how you present them when you offer them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Patsy, so much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? And I urge everyone once again to check out the SHIP frequently asked questions. If you think of something after the call is ended, it may have already been answered. Or again, feel free to email me or your project officer, and we will get back to you as soon as possible with questions, with the answers. No more questions. Answers to your questions.
And also, all the documents we talked about today are available on our website, and we'll be putting the recording of today's call also. And I can add some of the questions that were asked today to the frequently asked questions as well. And we do have an evaluation for today's call, and the link for that's on the screen, as well as the link to where the recording can be found. And we'll get that posted as soon as we can.
Okay. I see one more person typing. So we can wait for that question. But thank you all for your time today, certainly, and your questions.
Thank you.